Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Call of Duty DFS slate for March the 20th. Have a little bit of an interesting one today. We can quickly kind of recap yesterday. Kind of the first series was the Atlanta FaZe London Royal Ravens. Of course, we were on the wrong side of that one. I mean, I didn't really play anyone from this series at all anyway. It's partially kind of like a win in some aspects. I thought London was going to be able to get the um, upset. It didn't come to fruition. The vetoes went exactly as I kind of anticipated. They were a little outclassed on the day and got it wrong. Nothing as simple as that. But again, on kind of the flip side, there we recognize that London bans Cage. Um, and that's all that really matters is when it comes to DFS standpoint. We can look here at the scores. We could see Atlanta got the series win at 3-1. Nobody broke 80 kills. Then we look over to the New York series where guess what? They played Bocage. They had Hydra had 90, Neptune at 84, Crim6 at 79. Even John and Temp got over 80 in the Optic versus Florida series. Again, this was only 3 maps. But still super high kill totals. Dashi at 77 in a 3-mapper. Scump at 68, Shotzi at 65. Pretty crazy there. Boston, Toronto. Again, this is a 5-mapper, but they had Bocage. 50 for cap or 50 for narrow in this one. Kleenex at 47. You guys don't need me to get you know rant your ear off about this anymore, but Bocage matters that much. We're I think slowly maybe people will start to catch on, but I really have not seen that many people in at least the DFS aspect of it kind of catch on and realize that much, like how much it matters. People are definitely starting to like realize that leaning towards that Bocage does matter. I definitely see it with people who are doing like prize picks and that kind of stuff, like a different sort of way on it. But I think when it comes down to DraftKings more specifically, which is what we're focusing on, matters that much. Like I want to say Nero had like 60 DraftKings points after the first map yesterday. Like he had 57 kills or something. Like he had 50 something kills, 60 DraftKings points. Like it's just absurd the amount of upside that you can have on that map. It's like if you have a good Bocage, you can actually get like twice as much DraftKings scoring as you have like a good map on any other map. Like a solid Gavutu can lead you to like 30, 35, maybe 40 DraftKings points if you're like going crazy. But a good Bocage can have, like you saw yesterday with Narrow, he had 51 kills, 38 deaths, so that's 102 points worth of kills. Subtract 38 deaths worth of points, that is 62, isn't it? 38, yeah. That's 62 points worth of kills, and that doesn't even take into account the hill hardpoint hill time. So I don't know. It's just absurd. Like we had Kleenex here. He had 47 minus 40 or 47 times 2 minus 42. I don't know, what is that? 94 minus 42. What is that? 52. So like Kleenex, even they didn't even win. I mean, it was very close, granted. But like Cammy, Kleenex both reaching 50s. Insight and Vance did pretty poorly, but we can see the upside on Bocage still for sure. So even for losing teams and losing players, like the scores just add up so quickly. That's going to be the theme going forward until either something changes or I don't know. I don't know really what could change this. Either something in the game will matter with the maps. I'm not sure because honestly, it's a little annoying how much that matters, and the unpredictability of vetoes can be a problem. However, it also gives us a slight advantage as well. So it's something that we can continue to try to exploit and take advantage of. I think for at least the foreseeable future, I honestly have not been noticing that many people who are entering lineups with Bocage in mind. I think Bocage stacking is definitely a real thing. We're going to talk about that today. And yeah, I mean, that's, I'm going to continue to stress it until people, at least I know, hopefully you guys that are watching are you know, kind of privy to this as well. I think it really does matter that much. It's like a whole different game when we get the Bocage in the series. Um, so yeah, that's kind of be the gonna be what we're looking forward here too. Um, I guess quickly I want to touch on the other thing as well. Winning and that stuff is like kind of doesn't matter. I know that I like to keep the picks and stuff in the description. Usually that way people have some sort of idea of kind of how we're going along with things. It just doesn't matter. Like yesterday, technically I picked London as the big underdog, but I didn't play them in DraftKings because I knew that the Bocage wouldn't be going through the veto. So it's like, yeah, I take a hit on my like ranking or my whatever my stat tracking, um, but then at the same time, like I feel like I got this series kind of in a good spot. So it is what it is. I guess it's kind of like a mini personal rant, but going forward today, we have an interesting slate. Interesting prices, honestly, as well on these games. But I think it's going to be a decent one. I'm looking forward to it. I don't want to spoil kind of the whole video here, but kind of just talking about with how Bocage matters that much. When we do a quick Bocage check, overall, I'm only expecting one series to have Bocage in it. Maybe another one. Maybe there's a possibility of it in the other series, but um, quickly, kind of a little synopsis, but I guess kind of before we get started, a little bit of context because yeah, I kind of was looking into this stuff and getting everything ready for the video. Um, I think LA Thieves versus Minnesota is very unlikely. I think probably 10% maybe under that 10% or lower. I think for a chance of Bocage in that series, probably going to be one where I avoid for the most part. Atlanta FaZe versus Toronto Ultra. I think there's a pretty high chance of that. I want to say like 80% of Bocage coming in that series. We'll talk about the vetoes and stuff that we in a second when we go by like the series by series. But I'm expecting that Bocage in that series. When it comes to Seattle LAG, we can start there and talk about the vetoes. So the Los Angeles Guerrillas in these map vetoes, they've banned every map at least twice, and the only one out, the outlier is Gavutu, they've banned a third time. So that kind of tells me they're kind of banning for enemy strengths more so than their weaknesses. I kind of respect it. I understand the thought process there. It just leads to a lot of unpredictability in what we're going to expect. So when we take into consideration that they're going up against the Seattle Surge, we can see that they're banning these bottom two ones. We know those are Gavutu and Berlin. So if the Seattle Surge are going to ban one of those two maps, we don't know what LAG is going to ban. That kind of leaves things out in the open. When we look at the maps played, we can definitely see kind of a trend or try to get a little bit more of a guess. So when we look at the record in the maps played, we expect LAG to pick Berlin. That's what it's looking like. And we know that's one of the two things that Seattle will ban. It's tough because I feel like either way, it's if LAG, I kind of tripped up a little bit there in terms of my what I was thinking, but LAG 4-2 on Berlin. That's the only hardpoint map that they're really having much notable success on. So, and that's already one of the two maps that Seattle ban. I would expect Berlin to be the ban for Seattle. On the flip side, no map really stands out here for the Seattle Surge. They're 1-2 on, I believe that's Tuscan, and then 2-4 on the Bocage, and then 0-3 on the Gavutu. So I just don't know what LAG would going to ban. I would assume it's the Bocage because that's the map that they've banned the most. Or sorry, that's this is actually their played. Sorry. I don't know. I would maybe LAG could ban the Gavutu, um, and just try to get onto a map that they've played a little bit more in Bocage. I'm not sure. I mean, the Seattle Surge are 0-3 on Gavutu, so maybe they want to get to them there. I'm not sure. There's a lot of things up in the air here on this one, but fortunately for us, this is the first series of the day, so we will know the map set of this series beforehand, before lock happens. So this is going to be the time where you adjust. In terms of what preparation, I guess maybe you can have. My personal plan is I'm going to have a lot of Atlanta Phase and maybe some Toronto Ultra, because like I alluded to earlier, that is going to be the most likely Bocage series. And if there's going to be one series on the whole day that has Bocage in it, I want to be super heavy overloaded on that series. I know you're not going to get much leverage playing Atlanta Phase. They're always very highly owned. They are a gigantic favorite, minus 450 on the slate. But I think there still is maybe some unique ways to construct lineups and get approaching of this slate. So we can continue to like look ahead there. Um, in terms of like, so we know to kind of quickly regain focus here on this series. We know Seattle is going to probably ban Berlin. That would make the most sense. Then it comes down to what is LAG picking out of the other three maps, because nothing indicates any direction really. They've banned every other map like about the same time. Seattle Surge are kind of bad on all of them, like 1 and 2, 2 and 4, 0-3. Like none of those scores are interesting in any direction. The thing is that both of these teams, like after the Berlin gets banned, both of these teams' most played map is then Bocage. So I would assume one of these teams would want to try to get to Bocage, and then it kind of comes down to what it could happen after that. So it's kind of pointless, I guess, because we will just know the map set beforehand. If you guys want it for the map set, typically just find it on Twitter somewhere. Somebody will have the link to the match page. If you guys kind of aren't that aware or that in tune, typically the way the map set gets kind of quote unquote leaked is that the Call of Duty League website has all the match pages kind of preset. It's just the numbers at the end of the like URL are different, and it just kind of takes some people who are dedicated. I've done it a few times myself. It's just a little time consuming and awkward thing to do, but you just kind of change the numbers at the end of the URL to try to find the like match ID kind of, and you can find the match page, and then when the maps are determined, they're kind of automatically uploaded and they get kind of leaked that way. Although I don't think it's necessarily like a concern for the Call of Duty League that the maps are leaked early. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. If you guys are looking for a little bit more easy way to do that, I think the Twitter account at CDL Scrimtel typically will tweet that out when they get that information as well. If not, just search on Twitter like 30 minutes maybe before lock for the map set of this series. It should probably be out there by then. The main thing again is check if Bocage is in there. If Bocage is in there, then you can go free with this series. If there's no Bocage, I think the series is still viable in some sense. But again, this is just one where my plan is I'm going to be on Atlanta and then probably Seattle. We'll talk about why I'm kind of picking them here in a second. But if there's no Bocage in this series, then I'm going to pivot to a weird and unique stack. I think I'm going to go with Atlanta and Toronto, just get a game stack there, and hope that the Bocage scoring is enough to kind of carry me over the edge. And I don't know, we'll see. We'll talk about kind of the slate and everything as a whole. That's kind of my plan for now, but maybe I'll have a different idea after we continue to look at the maps and stuff. So yeah, so we know no Berlin. After that, it's kind of murky waters, but we should know beforehand anyway. So, yeah, if we do get a Bocage, I think it's somewhat likely, like 50-50 maybe, because it is, again, both of these teams' most played map, but we just don't know what LAG is going to ban. So, I mean, there's a chance that we get like a Bocage and Tuscan. That's a possibility, and that definitely changes the side of things. But that's kind of what it comes down to there for me is if there's Bocage, I want to go heavy. If there's no Bocage, I might just lighten it up a little bit in terms of my exposure to this series. When it comes to kind of who I'm liking to win and take this series down, who are the players I'm looking to target, I'm honestly a little surprised that we're seeing this price tag on Seattle. I feel like they're getting a little disrespected here. I don't know. There's still a little bit of um I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. There's still just a little bit of too much unknown, I think, from the Seattle side, as weird as it sounds. So we saw that they had the 3-1 defeat to Boston. We know Boston's looking pretty decent as of late. They're on a decent win streak themselves. I believe they're 3-0. Picking up some decent wins here for themselves. So we know Boston is decent. So they lost to Boston on a big deal. Then they got the upset win over FaZe. Pretty shocking. We didn't know what to make of that, whether it was kind of fluky or what it was. But then I think yesterday, no, I guess it would be the day before, the 18th, Seattle versus Optic Texas. I think they actually looked pretty decent in that series. Again, despite the score, it was 3-1 to Optic. The score feels a little deceiving. I feel like watching that series, it was pretty close. They definitely had opportunities to win. Again, when we look at the slang department, we saw Seattle outslayed Optic on Bocage. They looked pretty strong on this map. They brought it to the close round 5 control. Even on the Tuscan, it was pretty close here at 250-240. They definitely had their chances. I think overall Seattle was looking pretty good in the series. They were looking a little bit more in form. And I think I just kind of thought people were like the odds would favor Seattle a little bit more, honestly. When we flip it to the LAG side, we've seen them get 3-0'd by Florida and then get a 3-0 over Paris. We know Paris is the worst team in the league now for sure. Before there was debate whether it was like New York, Paris. We just don't know. We didn't know at the time. But we know now it's definitely Paris, the worst team in the league, and LAG looked decent against them. But it's like, is that it? Is that all we have from LAG? We know there's somewhere in between Florida and Paris. I mean, we see Florida's in like a top 5 position ish. We see Paris is at the bottom, so it's like we know if they're somewhere in between 5 and 12. It's like, where does that leave us? We don't know. There's a lot of unknown there. And that's kind of what it comes down to, because if we do look again at the kind of the context of the whole league, we know Optic is elite, London's elite, Atlanta's elite. We know Boston, Florida, Toronto are decent. We know LAG and Seattle, probably LA Thieves are somewhere like in between maybe. There's a lot of like middling teams there. So it's like, where is LAG in terms of that middling team? Are they towards the top where I think Seattle is? Are they towards the bottom where like more towards the Minnesota Rocker, more towards the New York Subliners, the like 9, 10, 11 area in terms of, power rankings? So we just don't know that much about LAG. Again, we can look at the how well they've been doing. Their hardpoint record was a lot better. That's kind of what it comes down to. Is for now, we look at the kind of anticipated map set. We see LAG's 1-1, 2-2, and then 1-1 in all the maps that are not Berlin hardpoint. I mean, it's not great on the other side for Seattle either. I definitely recognize that. So you'd maybe slightly lean towards LAG. Let's see if we check the map by map. So they do have LAG slightly favored in the map 1. It looks like the controls are giving towards Seattle. Search and destroys. Okay, so that's something to keep in note, I suppose. We could check the stats here. I guess we can do it in here. Silly. LAG is 3-6. Wait, that doesn't make sense. Yeah, they're 3-6 in the controls so far. Seattle Surge is 4-6, so that's not great either. Why would Seattle Surge be so much favored in this map 3 here? That feels like a little bit of like a discrepancy, maybe. I'm not sure. Well, let's look here. Team stats, Call of Duty Vanguard. Look, try to see if we can notice anything different here, because that is definitely a weird discrepancy there. I don't know. Like, I feel like adding this sample size to Seattle feels a little tough on them because I feel like they're getting better. I don't know, but we'll look and see. So Seattle's been 6-11 in hardpoint. They're doing more. They're doing better in search and destroy. Then again, the controls are kind of close either way. So, I don't know. I really don't know what to make of this one, honestly. Yeah, this is a tough one. This is a pretty tough one. When I first looked at these odds, I thought for sure I'm just going to go with Seattle. I thought, man, LAG's been looking pretty bad. But, man, like, when you look at the context of, like, their hardpoint record and stuff, it just does not look that great. I don't know. I wonder what the pricing here is. Yeah, I mean, LAG's pretty cheap. Gunless, Asim. I mean, Gunless at 64 is pretty underpriced. I don't know. Maybe you can just kind of not go too heavy on this series either way. If there is a Bocage, maybe then you can try to look maybe map by map. Maybe this is maybe one I'm just gonna have to wait, and I'm going to probably just have to tweet out when the maps come out and try to have a better idea then, and look at the series as like a map by map basis. What are the controls looking like again one more time? I know it's close, but I don't remember what maps. So it looks like Seattle Surge is 3-3 and then 1-3, so they're much favoring the Tuscan over the Gavutu. LAG's 1-3 and 2-3, so it's not great either way, but I guess they would probably be favoring the Gavutu. I wonder, they're banning the Tuscan. Seattle Surge is banning Tuscan as well. Why would Seattle Surge ban Tuscan Control 4 times, but that's the map that they're doing much better on? That doesn't seem to make much sense. Interesting. Okay, well, yeah, we're probably just gonna have to wait and see, and look at the maps when they come out, and maybe get a little bit clearer of a picture. Because honestly, for now, I'm just really not sure. Again, if there is a Bocage, changes things. If not, then maybe try to get an avoid. Maybe like I think this is probably the secondary series you're gonna want to target. I don't know. I really hate when I do this wasting time thing. So I'll move on. I'll probably just have to tweet out some specific like ideas or predictions when the maps come out for this one. So I guess keep an eye out on that from me, again, on Twitter at RaiderJ_BBB. It's where I typically try to keep my updates, if there are any. So yeah, I don't know. My initial lean was Seattle, so maybe I should just go with them. I feel like all the kind of arrows do point towards Seattle. We've seen them have decent performances against two top teams recently. I feel like the confidence is starting to come back a little bit there. But LAG have better overall numbers. I don't know. For now, I'll just say my lean is definitely in the Seattle side, I guess. We'll leave it at that. When it comes to the Seattle players, it kind of feels like it could be anyone. From the stats I looked at, it seemed like it's definitely Sib. Then it's kind of a mix between like Mac and accuracy, and then Pred seems to be kind of the one underneath everyone. Yeah, just as of lately, that's kind of how it's been. The numbers maybe are decent for Pred, but I think in terms of my prioritizations, if there is a bocage, we can look at that. We'll look at the numbers for that. We'll do that, and then we can move on to another series. So bocage, we have Pred 32 and 32, or 32 and 31. That's decent. Sib 32 and 33. That's not that great. And that's considering he had a crazy performance here against Optic, and his numbers are still looking not that great. Mac, 33 and 32. That's decent. Accuracy, 31 and 29. So that's decent for him. What was Pred again? 32 and 32. Again, that feels a little skewed by this one series here. I'm not sure. I think I'll stick with my initial glance and look at that. For the Seattle boys, I think Pred is probably the one I'm going to leave off. He seems to be the one that's lagging a little bit behind everyone else, but I think it's fine if that's kind of where you end up with pricing. I think all four of these Seattle boys are fine. Again, pretty bocage dependent. I think in a scenario where there is bocage, I think trying to get up to Sib and I don't know, maybe Hook or Gun, like maybe Hook and Gunless, I'm not sure. I think there's a world where you could play like accuracy Gunless or just get to Gunless. Like Gunless is in generally underpriced here. There's no arguing that. I just kind of favor the Seattle side a little bit more. So yeah, keep bocage watch. I'll try to keep out information on that one. Minnesota LA Thieves. So I think the pick and ban is actually relatively predictable here. So we look at the LA Thieves map vetoes. They're banning the bocage. They're banning the Berlin. And then the Minnesota Rocker are banning Tuscan, Bocage, Gavutu, and they're banning Tuscan and Bocage mostly. A couple of Gavutu bans. When we look at the maps played, it's definitely. What was I thinking? What was I just saying? Yeah. So we have LA Thieves banning. I don't know. I completely derailed my train of thought for some reason. LA Thieves banning Bocage Berlin. Minnesota Rocker banning Tuscan Bocage. I would reckon Minnesota should ban Tuscan because they're 0-5 on it when they've played it, and LA Thieves are 4-1 on it. Definitely seems like a giant mismatch there. In terms of what LA Thieves are going to ban, that's a little up in the air. They're not going to ban Gavutu, so it's a 50-50 between Bocage and Berlin. I would reckon they probably just ban the Bocage because it's their second most banned, and that's when we look at the like series by series bans. This is what I was gonna point out here. So for the LA Thieves series bans, we can see that they started off banning Berlin and Tuscan, but since then it's been kind of all Bocage, and I think it would be straight 6 Bocage bans if it wasn't for this Berlin ban. And the reason we know that this one is like not much of an outlier is because we know the London Royal Ravens banned Bocage. So we know that London banned Bocage here, so LA Thieves didn't need to. So it's looking like the LA Thieves are trying to get away from Bocage at the moment, and it makes sense. So when we keep that in mind, Minnesota Rocker should ban Tuscan, most likely going to. LA Thieves most likely to ban Bocage. We're probably going to have Gavutu and Berlin here for these hard points. I really don't like those maps. Those are definitely the two worst maps when it comes to hard points. When we look at the controls, it's going to come down to a coin flip. We know LA Thieves are banning the Tuscan, Minnesota Rocker are banning the Gavutu. We're not going to know that beforehand, so it's pretty much playing a coin flip. But I think even in a coin flip scenario for the hard point, we're still not getting a Bocage when it comes to hard point. I don't think. A possibility maybe. Pretty low, probably like 20%, maybe. No. Again, it feels pretty unlikely there. So no Tuscan, no Bocage hardpoint. Probably no me. I'm probably just going to avoid this one altogether. I think you can get to some of these LA Thieves guys. I think Kenny and Draws are pretty underpriced. I think they're going to win these maps. We can look at the stats here. So we know um, it was Gavutu and Berlin, right? Yeah. So if we look at Gavutu and hardpoint for Kenny, they're 23 and 23. That's not great. Draza 20 and 21, not great. Octane, wow. Oh yeah, these numbers are skewed because of this match here. That's not input correctly. But he's averaging probably like 20 and 22 or something here, so that's not great. Then Envoy, 23 and 22. That's okay, but I mean, these Gavutu numbers are just gross. If it comes down to Berlin, maybe that's a little bit of a different story. 26 and 24. That's decent for Envoy, but he's super expensive, so that's really not that good for him. When it comes to Draza, 28 and 24, that's actually pretty good. I think that's a fine stat. That's enough. There for Draza on the Berlin. Kenny on Berlin, 27 and 24. Again, that's fine. That's enough. I think he's pretty cheap, 7,800. I think he can pay that off. Who was the other one? Octane, 28 and 25. That's fine, but then he's still getting up there in price, 88. You're asking a lot. And then I think we already looked at Envoy, 26 and 24. That's okay. I don't know. Again, this one kind of comes down to a coin flip, maybe. I think we could see Minnesota win the search and destroy, so that could maybe bring it to a map 4 where we see both of these hard points anyway. But I think overall, no Bocage. Probably just going to try to avoid this series overall anyway. I think getting to Kenny and Draza as like salary savers or values, I guess you could say, makes sense. More specifically, if there is no Bocage in LAG Seattle, because if you're like me, you're probably thinking Bocage pretty likely in Atlanta, Toronto. So in that scenario, you want to stack up more in this Atlanta, Toronto series, and you're going to need a secondary stack to go with them. I think LA Thieves fit that mold pretty well. Kenny and Draza combo. Maybe you could get up to like some another LA Thieves player, but it seems pretty unlikely. So can maybe pair them up with like some of the cheaper Seattle or LAG guys. Maybe that's the idea and plan I think I have set out for this one. So yeah, and then we can talk about the picks and bans that I expect for the Toronto Atlanta series and why I think Bocage is going to be coming through in that one. So unfortunately, these are all the way at the opposite sides of the spectrum here. But when it comes to vetoes, we could see Atlanta FaZe vetoing Berlin hardpoint every time. We could see that's what they've been doing here. Where are they at? Where's Atlanta FaZe? Oh, they're at the top here. So we could see they've been banning Berlin a lot. I believe that's 6 out of the last 7. They've banned Berlin hardpoint, so it's a pretty much a lock for them to do so. When it comes to Toronto Ultra, we can see that they've banned a couple Berlins, a lot of Tuscans, some Gavutus. I don't know what to make of this really, but the only thing that we know for sure is they have not been banning Bocage. And that's kind of all we can ask for is no Bocage ban, because if they're not banning Bocage, we know FaZe are going to pick that. So we kind of go back to the map screen here. We can look at FaZe. They're banning Berlin, so we know it's going to be Tuscan, Bocage, or Gavutu. For the Toronto Ultra, Bocage is the only map that they're like having some success on at the moment in hardpoint. As you guys can see, they're 1-3, 1-4, 1-3. Excuse me. Yeah, they're 1-3, 1-3, and 1-4 on every non-Bocage map. They're actually 3-3 on Bocage. So it seems like that's their kind of saving grace. So if both teams are confident on the Bocage, one of them is going to pick it, I think, most likely. So I think the odds of the Bocage coming through in this series is pretty high. And, for that reason, I want to lock and load this series pretty heavily. As when it comes down to the second map, I'm really not sure what Toronto Ultra will ban. Let's see, we see they've been banning Berlin, but um, we know Atlanta FaZe are going to ban Berlin, so they most likely ban the Tuscan because that's what they were previously banning beforehand. Um, it would make sense, but then in that scenario, we get a Bokaj and Gavutu. This one could get a little dicey because I think there's a scenario where Atlanta FaZe 3-0, and then it comes down to a coin flip because the coin flip is whoever wins the coin flip gets to pick the first hardpoint map, which would mean Bocage would be map 1, whereas there's an opportunity for Bocage to be map 4, and then we never even see it. That is a scenario. I don't know. It's a little dicey and not one I want to think of. So we'll try to take the chance and try to get to the Bocage any way we can. I think one of these teams is going to pick it. Hopefully it's picked first. Hopefully it's the number 1 map, and we'll go from there. As far as, again, as the other map, it's probably going to be the Gavutu. Not great, but it's something. When it comes to Control, FaZe ban Gavutu, Control, Ultra are kind of split between the two. FaZe definitely much prefer the Tuscan. Control. Ultra probably going to lean towards the Gavutu Control. They're 3-1 on it. They have equal bans. They're probably going to realize that FaZe are worse on the Gavutu Control. So that's another, again, kind of coin flip thing where we're just not sure. So hopefully FaZe win the coin flip. They do get their Tuscan Control. They can hopefully get the Bocage map 1, and we're going to be in business. So yeah, I think that's probably going to be it. We talked a little bit about it earlier, but I want to kind of reiterate it and kind of bundle everything up for you guys if you're still here and maybe a little confused on what I'm thinking, where to go. So LAG Seattle, about 50-50, probably a coin flip on whether we get Bocage. However, we will know that information before lock. Make sure you're checking out Twitter, looking around online for that information. We will have it before lock. I'd recommend probably about 30 minutes or so. Check Twitter, look for these maps, and see if there is a Bocage happening in LAG Seattle. If there is, then I think it's something you want to probably target. If not, then you probably want to go a little bit lighter. In terms of picking players and stuff, I'm really not sure. I think my lean is probably towards the Seattle side for now, but I could see myself looking towards the LAG side by the time lock rolls around. It's tough because I feel like long term, numbers wise, it's looking better for LAG, but I think Seattle's current form is a little bit better, so I'll lean Seattle for now. Probably the players I like are Sib number 1, but he's expensive. Then Accuracy and Mac are probably like 2A and 2B. They're kind of both there, but Accuracy is obviously much cheaper. And then Pred is probably the one I'd leave off if I were to do a Seattle triple stack. LAG side, probably Gunless, and then either Hook or Asim. Slasher would definitely be the one I'd leave off if I do end up somehow getting to that triple stack of LAG. Again, I'm not sure on this series what team I'm going to go with. If there is a Bocage, I'm probably going to have a 3-stack of one of these teams. So it would be Gunless number 1 for sure. He's super cheap and one of their better players. Then probably Hook, and then probably Asim as the third option. So I would definitely, but either way, I think Slasher would be the one I'd leave off. His numbers are pretty bad. He did have a spike performance recently, but I don't think that seems more of a one-off scenario. LA Thieves Minnesota, we did kind of just recently talk about this one. Probably going to try to avoid. I think it's very unlikely we see the Bocage happen in this one. I think you can maybe get to Kenny and Draza. They look decent on some of the maps, but I think at most they're a secondary stack for me. Toronto LA Thieves, again, this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. I think if we have a world where LAG and Seattle, we get them at vetoes, there's no Bocage, I think there is a world where you can end up stacking this series, having 5 players from this one. You could go just load up on like Celium, a BZ Simp, bring him back with like Kleenex and Cammy, or those would probably be the two my two Toronto targets. But it would probably be Kleenex, and then anyone else, probably Cammy. I think Cammy's had the better Bocage numbers. Um, but I think that's a realistic scenario that can happen. Again, we've seen just the mass amount of scoring with Bocage. I'm sure you guys don't need me to tell you with the upside there. It is a little dicey and unlikely that a losing Bocage team can do well, but if Toronto keeps it close, which I think is a possibility, um, that's just kind of something to remember and to look into. And we know for sure that's definitely going to be um, a unique style and a unique approach. So I think it's a unlikely scenario. It is a weird one, but I think if all the boxes are kind of checked for it for me, so I'm gonna take the shot. I'm probably gonna end up having some Toronto Atlanta stacks if we're not seeing Bocage in the first series. So yeah, that are gonna be it for me tonight. I think a pretty interesting one. I'm actually excited for this. I think we're starting to find a little bit of form, and we have a solid idea of what to do here with the Call of Duty DFS picks. I think again, it kind of is just coming a lot down to these vetoes and stuff, looking at Bocage and how much it does matter. So hopefully we can, kind of continue to apply an advantage, apply this weakness, I guess, or that we found, or try to exploit this advantage as much as we can, kind of before everyone else kind of picks up on it. So that'll be it for me today. Best luck to you guys tomorrow. Hopefully you guys have a game plan similar to mine as well, and we can make some cash. So best of luck, and I will see you guys next week for Call of Duty. You have the weekly 4-day break, and be right back at it next week.